For my emotional storytelling presentation, I will be discussing the first installment of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, The Fellowship of the Ring. It came out in 2001 and is directed by Peter Jackson. The first time I saw this piece of media was in December of 2001. My dad brought me, my brother, and two of my best friends to see the film at the Egyptian Theater that day. I was in the 6th grade at the time. The emotional effect this movie had on me was that this film was the first of its kind. Fantasy epics did not exist that involved this level of quality CGI with an equally fantastic scope of story and character development. For those of you who might not know, computer-generated imagery, or CGI, is the use of computer graphics to create something that is not there in the film but make it seem incredibly real. So if you think of the movie Avatar, all of the blue Na'vi creatures were all CGI, as was most of the world that was created for that movie. Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring was the first movie that I had seen that used this sort of technology to its utmost potential. Up to this point, the original Star Wars trilogy was probably my favorite film series that could be considered comparable to the overall masterpiece, in my opinion, that is the Lord of the Rings trilogy. This piece of media is one of my favorite because, although one might argue it is not the best film of the trilogy, I feel like the way this movie successfully incorporated a huge scope, wonderful character development, and huge set pieces made everything that came after it possible. Even when you consider films that came after this that aren't the same franchise, you really don't see many competitors in terms of scope or even how long the movie is. This movie sits at a whopping 2 hours and 58 minutes, and I enjoy every single second of it. How does this work inspire me? This movie inspires me in several ways. From a filmmaker's standpoint, this film raised the bar incredibly high for the fantasy adventure genre, as well as for films in general going forward. It opened my eyes to what it is possible to do in films. When it comes to the story, the film is about good versus evil. Good is trying to destroy a weapon that evil will use to decimate the world, and good is running out of time. The reason I love this movie so much is the way it allows its characters to grow and develop as they are presented with situations they might not want to be a part of, but feel a certain duty to their world to put an end to all the suffering. Some characters grow for the better, some for the worse. But what I enjoy so much is that it doesn't shy away from anything when it comes to how these characters get from point A to point B. That is why I love The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring.